This is a short list of the rights that were proposed to be broken by the zoning. First Amendment, right of the people to peaceably assemble. Now here's a situation where they want to give you a permit or have you apply for a permit in order to peaceably assemble. The problem with this is words mean something. What does the word rights mean? Well, especially when we're talking about individual rights, the rights of property, gun rights, right of free speech, these are by definition things you can do without anyone else's authority. You have the authority, and only you, to do these things. The government has no say over it whatsoever. What is the definition of permit? Well, that would be to get permission from an authoritarian, in this case the government, to do something that would not normally be legal. And most of the time that comes with a fee. So right off the bat, whenever you see someone asking for a permit in order to facilitate a right, you know they're way out of line. But then you need to go through the step-by-step in your mind of how you would get this permit. So I want to peaceably assemble 25 of us. We're going to have a family reunion. Well, number one, I just had to say who was going to be there. The next thing is they might want to know what we want to talk about. And that would clearly be an infringement on your free speech. Congress shall make no law prohibiting the free exercise thereof. This is talking about religion. I shortened it up to fit it all on here. But they can make no law. Well, in the proposed zoning, there were 14 regions. And in these 14 regions, 2 of the regions you could have no church whatsoever. So you couldn't exercise religion, at least from a church standpoint, in those 2 zones at all. Then out of the 14, 8 of them, you had to have a conditional use permit. So once again, here's a right, and they want you to get a permit. Well, the definition of their conditional use permit is that you had to go in front of a board, you had to tell them about your church, and if they like your denomination or what you believe in, and you're willing to pay them a bunch of cash, then they can give you a 1-year permit. Well, churches are a lot like businesses. They have to have facilities and property, whether they own it or lease it or rent it. Doesn't really matter. They're going to probably be under some sort of a contract and an investment. And here comes the government saying, well, if we like you, you can only stay for 1 year and then we'll see. Doesn't sound like a very solid foundation that you'd want to build your church under. So out of all of these 14 zones, 4 of them, you're allowed to have your church unconditionally. Fourth Amendment, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation. So it's not just probable cause. Someone has to actually give an oath. And particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Now, the proposed zoning wanted a zoning compliance officer to be able to come on your property without a warrant, and whether you're home or not, and go on your property and look for these zoning violations. Second Amendment, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. I want to talk about the Washington D.C. gun ban case. It was brought by Dick Heller, and he was a treasurer for the Libertarian Party in the Washington D.C. Libertarian Party branch. What happened in this case, of course, we all know the Supreme Court ruled just barely that the people in Washington, D.C. did have a right to have guns. The problem is that the zoning people were onto this, and they said, well, this is easy. All we got to do, since it takes a background check and registration of firearms, is just not have anywhere where you can do that. So they just decided to zone out all gun shops. Now, this was a huge fight, and I'm not sure exactly where they are in the process right now, but you can Google it and you can look at the back and forth. But I believe that they finally have gotten their first gun shop through the zoning, so people can actually secure their right to own a handgun. You see, with the zoning, it attacks everything: life, liberty, property, all the Bill of Rights. It's a tool used to strip you of all of your freedom. First Amendment, freedom of speech, or sign zoning. What the anti-property rights people would like to do is not allow you to have campaign signs on your property or signs showing your business. Maybe if you want the 10 Commandments or a garage sale sign, they might let you have it, but you got to go to them for permission. You got to get a permit. You got to pay them. It has to be a certain way and a certain spot and a certain size. This is all an infringement on your freedom of speech. Fifth Amendment, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall property be taken for public use without just compensation. So if they are going to take your property, they have to pay you. You'll notice when you go look at anywhere they've zoned, they just go ahead and regulate the use away. They never pay for it. Montana Constitution. All persons are born free and have certain inalienable rights, acquiring, possessing, and protecting property.